It was time for another Alstyne Chamber of Commerce breakfast with the mayor. Let's see, we had a wonderful host, Grayson College South, with a big shout out and thank you to Dr. Eileen Walton and her amazing crew. We also had breakfast, check. The chamber, check. And there he is, the mayor, check. We are all set. It was a lot of great networking and breakfast tacos, and then it was time to hear from our mayor, Jim Atchison. Mayor Jim covered so many topics so well. I'm just going to put them together lightly edited. I've provided timestamps so you can jump to your favorite topics if you like.
I'll scatter shoot for a little bit and then I'm happy to take questions. So feel free to ask anything as I go through some stuff. And I'm going to kind of start from inside City Hall and work my way out. So if that makes any sense. First, I want to talk about our audit because I know that's exciting stuff for everybody. But for the first time since I've been mayor and for many, many years before that, we had an extremely successful audit. Our auditors are Vale and Park. They're out of Frisco and they have an office in Tom Bean. You may know Susan LaFollette. She's a Van Alstyne person who does the audit, but that doesn't mean she takes it easy on us. She never has in the past. Working with consultants to update our comprehensive plan for the city. The next thing you will see on that is a town hall here at the college. Thank you again, Dean Walton. That's Monday, September 8th. So if you are available on the 8th in the evening, I believe it's going to start at 6 p.m. Please come by here at the college and let us know what you think of where we're at in the comprehensive plan. It is not completed. We had a town hall several months ago and we got initial input. We've taken that input and begin to formulate a plan. So don't think what you're looking at is the final product. What you see on the 8th will be a work in progress. There's still plenty of time to give input, and we definitely want to hear your input. We haven't updated our plan in 20 years, so it's overdue. Not to say we haven't made informal plans, but the formal thing you see out on the city website is overdue for update. So that's happening. I wanted you to be aware of that. Spreading out a little bit. Thank goodness the legislative session is over except for a special session. Our attorney briefed us last week on some things that happened at the legislative session. It wasn't terrible for cities. Sometimes it can be. A couple of changes that you may notice. I mentioned the audit. In the future, we will need to complete our audit within 6 months of the end of the fiscal year, which is October 1st. So we just finished an audit. We're going to go right back into audit mode at City Hall. It'll need to be finished by about the 3rd week in March. So it does take a while to collect data. Again, we're working with Vale and Park. They're merging with another company, but a lot of smaller cities are having trouble getting auditors to work that quickly. Because we have this relationship with Vale and Park, they have already told us that they could support us and get it done in the first 6 months of the fiscal year. So we'll be working on that. The other thing is that you may notice is there is a new law that requires us to post the agenda for all public meetings 3 days ahead of time. And you may think, well, it was already 3 days. No, it was 72 hours. And that could include weekends. So we could post up to Saturday night for a Tuesday night council meeting. Weekends no longer count. The day of the meeting no longer counts. So now we need to post on Wednesday night. So Thursday, Friday, and Monday are our meetings. If one of those is a holiday, we need to post on Tuesday. So a little bit more difficult for city staff to post agendas in time to meet the 3-day deadline. Yeah, 3 business days, not counting holidays, not counting the day of the meeting. It's actually probably a little better for council. We get a little more time to look through the packet before the meeting. So for those who are still working and they only have to do that and they have weekends to do that, it's helpful that they get a little more time to do that. Believe it or not, up to 31 homes per acre. We currently approve up to 4 or 5 homes per acre. That bill passed, but the good news is it only applies to cities with a population of 150,000 or more. So it applies to McKinney, Plano, Frisco, and some 13 other cities in the state, but no one in Grayson County does that apply to. So again, the legislative session is over unless the governor puts more stuff on the special session. We don't think there's a huge impact to the city from the citizens' point of view. I became aware of several organizations that are of importance to us as we grow. One of those is an organization called the Texas Demographers Office. They had their conference normally in Austin. They moved it to Dallas this year. I may have talked about that last time I was here because I was about to go to it. It was the end of April, so I went down to that. Presentations from Dr. Lloyd Potter as the director. More importantly, there's a lady named Dr. Helen Yu, and her title is Assistant Director, Population Projection Estimates. So I spent 2 days trying to convince her how quickly we're growing in Grayson County and especially in Van Alstyne. That's important because it's tied to highway dollars as well as a lot of other infrastructure support that we could get from the state. So they are constantly, every year, they update not only the current population, but their projection of where things are going. I'm amazed at the level of detail they put into that. So they're already working on Census 2030. I know that's still 5 years away, but they're adamant that we're going to do a better job in 2030 across the state of Texas at getting everyone counted. They estimate we lost at least 1, maybe 2 House of Representative seats because we didn't count everybody. So just a heads up, you'll see a lot of data, a lot of emphasis on that in the next couple years as we approach the next census. Part of my job is to represent the city outside the city limits. So I'm part of what's called the Texoma Council of Governments. Some of y'all may be very familiar with TCOG. I got elected as vice chair of that. I think I must have missed that meeting when they elected me. But yeah, it's composed of Grayson, Colin, and Grayson, Cook, and Fannin counties. So county judges, mayors of Gainesville, Bonham, Sherman, Denison, Van Alstyne. Most of those mayors are smart enough to delegate that, but I haven't found a way to do that yet. So we basically allocate federal dollars that come to the TCOG, federal and state dollars, but about 90% of it's federal money. It supports mostly people in need of housing assistance and other daily assistance, but it does a lot of other good things too. So there's something called the Colin Grayson Municipal Alliance, and people ask me from time to time, do we have enough water, fresh water, to support all of this growth? Our predecessor, some 18 years ago, signed us up for the Colin Grayson Municipal Water Alliance. That is in practical terms, a pipeline that brings water up from the city of McKinney, take it out of Lake Lavon. It's water that we purchase from North Texas Municipal Water District. They have a lot of water. They own Lake Lavon, and they're the ones who built the new lake up north of Bonham. Bodark Lake is a North Texas Municipal Water District lake. So they have a lot. They sell it to their member cities and to their customer cities. We are a customer city. So I am the chairman of that one. Fortunately, we only meet about 3 times a year, but we plan for water needs for the cities of Anna, Melissa, Van Alstyne, and Howe. So the mayors of all those communities are on that. I get to meet with Mayor Kane and Northcutt, Mayor Carla McDonald out of Howe as well. So approximately a quarterly basis. It's a Grayson Municipal Planning Organization, because now we're talking highway dollars. So we get federal and state highway dollars at the county level, and that organization decides how our little bit of highway dollars is spent in the county, what roads it's spent on. There's not enough money there to build an entire road, so it ends up being seed money. So TxDOT will prioritize roadways in part. They use a lot of factors, safety being a big part of it, congestion, but also something called local match. So if the city or the MPO is willing to pay in 5–10% on the cost of a road, that will get their attention. So that's, again, Grayson Municipal Planning Organization. I did make 2 trips to Austin this year. Took the opportunity to meet with our state senator, Brett Hogenball, as well as our state rep, Shelley Luther. Also talked with the Texas Transportation Commission and gave a presentation to those guys regarding US 75 funding. And in the first meeting, I met with the TxDOT chief engineer, a guy named Lance Simmons. So he leads all of TxDOT across the state. They had some interesting numbers at the Transportation Commission. There's something like 1,600 people a day moving to the state of Texas. and none of them are bringing any water with them. And they are, but they are all bringing automobiles with them. So we have a lot more congestion of highways all across the state moving to the state of Texas, and we need to plan for that. And TxDOT's doing the best they can with limited funding to do that. Let me continue talking about TxDOT. We just had a change in our engineer here, the TxDOT engineer for Grayson County. There was a guy named Aaron Bloom. Some of you may know Aaron. He's a Van Alstyne guy. His son just graduated from Van Alstyne High School. His daughter is about to become a junior. Hopefully they'll stay in the area because she's a terrific softball pitcher. Cammie is her name. But he's going back to Gainesville. Our new guy just got announced. His name is Brian Ismaili Doki. I've never met Brian. He's coming from the Metroplex, but he used to live in Van Alstyne. So if you've been around a while, you may know Brian. His sister still lives in Van Alstyne and goes to First Methodist Church. So he has Van Alstyne connections, which is never a bad thing. Hopefully he can come visit his sister and feel some of our pain when it comes to getting underneath US 75 and help us work that with the funding issues at the state level. TxDOT and everything they have going on. So no doubt you've noticed, as we talked last time, the access roads have become one way, but they're not yet 2 lanes. So TxDOT contractors are continuing to work on the base of the access roads. When the base is solidified, they will do an overlay and restripe them. So the access roads from County Line Road all the way up to 902 and Howe will be 2 lanes, both go in the same direction. Striped, of course, to support that. They have already started working on the new overpass that you'll see between 121 and Farmington, which has been renamed to Blythe Road. It was confusing. It was Blythe between 5 and 75, Farmington on the west side of 75. The county has changed the name. It's now going to be Blythe all the way over until you hit Farmington, which is now just the north-south part of that. Anyway, the access roads are in conversion. I was hoping they'd finish that by the opening of school. Looks like it's going to be delayed a few weeks. The reason that's important is once they get both of those lanes paved and striped, they will change the timing on the traffic lights. So there will be less time as you're on the access road at the traffic light, more time for the east-west traffic to come through the intersection. So hopefully that will help the congestion a little bit. I know if you've been stuck in that line on between 75 and 5, it can take 4 or 5 cycles to get through that light. So I'm not totally confident. I'm hopeful that that will improve that situation a little bit when they change the timing on the traffic lights. A lot of work to do at the city to convince the state to spend the $45 million that it's going to take to rework the 75 and 121 intersection. They will put in concrete, but they won't add any capacity as part of this renovation they're doing. So we'll be working with our state senator, who's on the Transportation Commission, as well as the other people I mentioned, to try to get that funding to get 75 and 121 improved so it adds capacity, U-turn lanes, more east-west throughput. Downtown streets, I won't even attempt to make any commitment. That's a city project. That's not TxDOT, so I've transitioned to city. So if you've had a chance to look closely at any of those, you'll see that the holes are about 20 feet deep that they're digging. They are going way down into the earth to dig up any pipes that are down there and replace water lines, sewer lines. We don't want to repave the street just to have to come back and replace a water line in a couple years. So contractor is doing that. Taking longer than we had hoped for sure, but you can see the progress for better or worse. I emphasize the rec center is open. I've been told by several people recently that people don't know that we have a Van Alstyne Recreation Center. It's open for the fun sports of pickleball, volleyball, basketball, pickleball. Did I mention pickleball? It's indoor, so even if it's raining, come play pickleball at the rec center. First day of school, my last note, August 13th. So life changes traffic-wise. I know for many of you personally, you got to get kids to school. If your kids are in band or football or volleyball, it changes probably several weeks before that. So school session I encourage you to find alternate routes if you're trying to get on 75. It will be a challenge. and we'll be trying to monitor that and work with TxDOT. I am trying to figure out, by the way, TxDOT traffic patterns in Colin County. It looks like they're making good progress, but that's the Dallas district of TxDOT. They prefer to ignore Van Alstyne as long as they can. They don't realize that our city limits go into Colin County. So I've communicated with them. Hopefully they'll send us an update, and Mike can post that on when we're going to get entrance and exit ramps open in Colin County for those of us who may go south.
After all that, Mayor Atchison took questions, and there were a few.
Groundbreaking has occurred. We did a groundbreaking about a month ago. If you go over to what I call the old football field off Highway 5 at Blasingame, you will see great progress being made. Everything except the old historical Boy Scout hut has been demoed and hauled off. They're moving dirt, so that's probably a 16 to 18 month project. I'm hoping by the end of 2026 our firefighters and police officers will have a new home. So we talked about that a little bit last time, but that is moving along. That contractor seems to be making great progress. We'll see how it goes.
So as a follow-up question, someone asked, what happens to the buildings that currently house the police and fire department?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're open to ideas. So the city owns that portion of the block as well as the buildings. We've had a couple of developers tell us they'd buy it today and lease it back to us. Some people want to keep at least part of the building and turn it into some kind of restaurant. Some people want to level the whole thing and do like a multi-story retail on the bottom, lofts on the top. So we've heard a lot of different concepts, and we're open to all of those. But no definite plans at this point. I'm fairly confident the city will sell it and allow that to develop for something that's complementary to our existing downtown.
He even handed the microphone over to David Ellis, the executive director of the Van Alstyne Community and Economic Development Corporations, when asked about the old diamonds.
Yeah, so we've gone through a process. There's a consulting company that does construction management called Project Advocates that is helping to facilitate a process to go through to make a determination kind of what's the future of the site, kind of a vision. We brought in a panel of citizens that have met on several occasions, giving their input of what they would like to see. Other input has come in from the comprehensive plan that the mayor had spoke earlier of. There's no definite plans yet. We have already on our own, found several really qualified developers. There's one of which that specializes in downtown redevelopments that I think is really good. And so anything that would be put in there would be very much in tune with the existing buildings, in the downtown. Really, recognizing the historical and architectural significance of the surrounding areas and be very compatible with that. So, it'd be some type of, from speculating, it'd be some type of mixed use with, probably with retail or office and residential component to it. That's kind of what we'll envision like that. Some of the other feedback we've had too, and I think it was very important, is there's kind of a push, hey, we need more restaurants, we need more merchants. But some of the feedback we had, and I agreed with it, was you also need more density, because you need, if you go down there like I am, I'll go, in the middle of the afternoon and it's dead. There's not a lot of traffic out there. And so you need a critical mass, whether it's office workers or residents that live there that can frequent those restaurants and merchants throughout the week, so they're not just having maybe peak periods of, on the weekends or evening times. So that's the other factor to take into consideration with that.
Next question about when will Van Alstyne get its own grocery store?
I can assure you that the city manager will entertain any retail people in general, but especially grocery store people who want to come talk to us, and a number of them have. So nothing I can announce at this time. There is a lot of work in progress. There's a lot of people involved in that, I have learned. So we were hoping to work directly with the grocery store. We don't own the land that is most advantageous for that. So the first people that are involved are the landowners. A lot of times grocery stores don't want to do their own development. They're happy to have someone else come in. So that brings another person, another company into the mix. So we're talking both directly with grocery stores and developers and the people who are doing the land. I currently own the land that's most advantageous for that along 75, are leading most of that. So I am hopeful that we can announce something in the next couple months, but can't promise anything right now. I will tell you that the land in Van Alstyne along 75 is some of the most expensive in North Texas. If you've tried to buy any, that won't surprise you at all. But yeah, obviously priced per square foot these days. The city is willing to talk about various incentives, 380 agreements, those kind of things with developers and grocery stores, trying to speed that process along. The bad news is even once something's announced, we are probably 2.5 to 3 years from a grand opening. It just takes a while. I've talked to Mayor Northcutt down in Melissa just to get what their timeline was for their Kroger and their H-E-B, and from the time that somebody jumps on board, it takes a while to get something opened up. So in the meantime, I know David's talked with a lot of smaller grocers about maybe some other tracts of land, existing buildings. So we're trying to get that to where we can have something besides Dollar General and Brahms in Van Alstyne where you can go buy some fruit or canned goods.
It was another great day hanging out with the Chamber, and if you'd like to know more, just head over to vanalstynechamber.org. Reporting for the City of Van Alstyne, I'm Mike Shaw.